What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Appreciate you guys tuning in for another video. If you guys are new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any future videos. Man, this year is just rolling on by, and man, we're getting to one of my favorite times of year for fishing. That late summer, early fall, and the frog bite. You know, I love this time of year. The grass has grown up all year long. And then in a lot of fisheries, especially in the south, the water level starts dropping. You know, the winter drawdown starts in the fall and they start drawing the lakes down. So what you're left with is grass that has grown up, falling water, and it creates matted grass. So that grass is on the surface, and you know, one of the best ways to target those fish is gonna be frog fishing. And that's what we're gonna talk about here today. One of the age-old questions when it comes to frog fishing or toad fishing, ribbit fishing, whatever you want to call it. Really, those are two different categories, but that's a topic for a different video. What we're talking about here today is one of the age-old questions, you know, something that I get asked all the time when we go frog fishing, and that is, what color do you like? Black or white, or do you like a different color? And we're going to kind of dive into that, give you my thoughts on all of that here in this video. Okay, well, I talked about a lot there, and like I said, the age-old question, do you like black, do you like white on your frog or your ribbit? That's what we have right here is the ribbit. And for these style baits, you know, it's very similar to my hollow belly frog fishing. You know, I kind of have a rule of thumb on when I choose one of these versus the other, and really I pretty well stick to that, unless it's a very specific situation. You know, number one, the times where I'm not gonna use a black or a white frog is gonna be extremely clean water and more open water. You know, if it's a heavy mat of grass, I really don't think the fish can see that specific color very well. They're definitely gonna see a shade of black or white, but you don't need to have a green pumpkin with blue flake in your frog or your toad when you're over that really thick, heavy, matted vegetation. So you got black, you got white. For me, I go with white, probably, I'm probably throwing white 60% of the time and throwing black 40% of the time. I don't know, those are skewed numbers. It's hard to really say. But for me, I like the white color on all of my frogs, ribbits, toads, hollow bellies, a white or a shad color when it is sunny out. Just kidding. I like the white when it is cloudy out. I just wanted to see if I could get you guys fired up. So for me, I throw the white and the shad colors when it is cloudy out. You got those overcast conditions. Generally, the fish are going to be up chasing shad, feeding on shad, and I want something that imitates those and looks like a shad. You know, when a fish sees a white bait buzzing across the surface, it's going to look like a shad to that fish. So that's when I'm going with the white colors, when I'm faced with overcast, cloudy conditions, things like that. Now, all those other days, it's gonna be sunny, maybe partly cloudy, not full sun out there. That's when I go with a blackish color, a dark color. Now this can be, you know, there's so many different variations of black in a frog. You know, black and blue, black and red, black and yellow seems to be popular. But I really like this color right here. This is a ribbit color, and it kind of combines both of those. This is called Shiner from Ribbit, but it is a black and blue with a silver flake. And if you guys know me, you follow me, I love black and blue with silver flake. I have an exclusive color with Yamamoto baits in the Cinco called Becker's Black Magic, and it's exactly this right here. So I love that dark profile, that base color black on this frog, but it has that little bit of silver, so it adds a little additional flash to this bait as it's kicking, as it's swimming. And if you guys, obviously you guys know me, I love a little bit of flash mixed in any bait. I feel like it's something that can trigger a fish that's following it, just happen to see the bait. When he sees that flash, that is a triggering point for that fish, and I always try and have some silver flake in my fish on baits like this, where you're trying to trigger a bite and they're not always actually feeding on it. So black or white, for me, I keep it pretty simple, and I go with this rule of thumb, like I said, pretty much every time I'm throwing a topwater or a frog, and I'm going with black or white. Keep things really simple. Definitely on my ribbit fishing, it is black or it is white. That is it. You know, on my hollow belly frogs, I will dive into some other colors, some little more natural colors, you know, some browns, some greens, things like that. And, you know, maybe imitate a bluegill a little bit better. But if I'm throwing a ribbit, something I'm casting and winding, and this, you know, it's very similar to buzzbait fishing to me. You know, you're throwing a ribbit in very similar places that you would be throwing a buzzbait, just you can't get the buzzbait through because it's matted up with grass. So that's when I pick up this guy, and it's a black or it's a white one, and you go to town. So rigging this bait, that's another question that I get asked all the time. Dropped a little bit of the wrapper here. Rigging this bait can be a little overwhelming. For me, I do not like to use say a EWG style hook. That's probably one of the most popular hook styles that you would see on, you know, a toad or a ribbit style bait. But for me, I like to do things a little bit different. So this is the hook right here that I like to use on all of my ribbit or hollow belly style, not hollow belly, these ribbit or toad style baits, and that is the Trocar. It's actually called the swim bait hook. So this is a TK 140, and this is the 4/0 size. So let's pull one out here, and I'll kind of walk you guys through how I like to rig this. I found this hook right here actually really helps you land more of those bites that you get. You know, a lot of times you can lose a lot of fish with this bait, and having the correct hook really helps with that. So first thing you can see, hopefully you guys can see on this hook right here, is it's got a huge gap from the hook point down to the shank of the hook. There's a huge gap there. So that really allows this bait to collapse well once he's rigged on there, and it gives a lot of room for that hook to penetrate into the fish's mouth. So this has a screw lock on the nose. I like all of these screw lock style hooks for a toad. And really this is the only time that I like or prefer a screw lock. There's there's not many situations where I really like a screw lock style hook. So we're gonna screw him on there just like that. And you know, the cool thing about this is you could leave a little gap there if you want, or you can screw him all the way up to the eye of the hook where you would be tying on. It doesn't really matter. It's just really up to you on how far you want the hook back in the bait. But this 4/0 fits perfectly into a ribbit. And then you just see that hook is now free swinging on the bait. So you bring him back here, run him straight through the bait, up through the top, and lay him right in the little hook slot there. And then I always like to Texpose it just to help keep that bait weightless or weedless. Man, I can't talk today. So you can see that hook point is covered. You can run the bait right down there. And now that bait helps run true because it has that hook down in the water. It's running true. It actually helps direct it up over lily pads and heavy weeds and things like that. So it helps keep it up in the water column and over things. But it has such that big gap there that when a fish bites this, it has all that room to collapse, and then you're left with that big exposed hook that's gonna stick them. So that's the hook that I'm throwing on my ribbits right there. So I just wanted to give you guys a little rigging tip there as we were talking about the ribbits that hopefully you guys can use on all of your toads and get out there and catch some more bass. So appreciate you guys tuning into this video. Hopefully you learned something. This is the age-old question, so I want to know your guys' thoughts in the comments. Black or white? What are your thoughts on that? What color are you choosing, when, and why? I would love to hear that in the comments. So appreciate you guys tuning in as always. Leave me those likes, comments, good stuff down below. Don't forget, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and we'll see you guys next time.